That's the one. Most of us traveled to get here. I know it because you told me this. And we were lucky because nobody stopped us. There were no conditions attached to us boarding the plane. Do you realize that if you were Chinese, those things would no longer be that easy? In China, your ability to board the plane currently depends on how good of a citizen you are, on something that the Chinese government calls social credit score. That score comes from monitoring every social interaction of Chinese citizens and by comparing it to the norm of political and social behavior created by the government. So the social credit score effectively became social identity of every Chinese citizen. It defines the role that we have in Chinese society. I'm bringing this experiment, this scary experiment, because it proves one thing, that it's no longer the matter of technological limitations, but only of a political will, whether we all end up living in a similar system. And if you didn't know that by now, I reassure you that each of us also has a score. We all have one, more than one. Yes, it's not the one defined by our governments yet. Those scores are defined by companies and other institutions who also monitor our behavior. That one is mine. It was generated just for me by Polish financial rating agency, and it determined whether I can get a loan. As you can see, I don't do so bad. I could feel relieved. I could apply for a loan, but in fact, I feel quite anxious. I feel anxious because I don't understand this number. I don't understand the logic behind the process that resulted in generating this number. I don't even know which of my various interactions with financial system resulted in this. What I do know, however, and it does not make me feel much better, is that every move I make, every trace, comes back to me as an element of my digital profile. I know, digital sounds really abstract, so before I dive into this, let me bring you back to our bodies, where the boundaries are slightly more tangible. I suppose most of us feel sensitive about our bodies. We feel those boundaries. We might be sensitive about our nakedness. We probably take time to choose our clothes. We might even choose different styles for different occasions. And there are good reasons to do this. There are good reasons to take care about our face, the outer layer with which we communicate with society. Because this is how judgments are made on us. This is how society interacts with us and tells us you are welcome or you are rejected. In digital world, definitely those boundaries are more blurred. This is all more abstract. But the logic that applies to shaping our identity, in my opinion, should be more or less the same. We should also be able to decide whether we go around social networks naked or dressed up, whether we show our professional face or intimate face, whether we reveal our emotions, deep beliefs, or just do the small talk. Unfortunately, it's not really the case. It's far more complicated, mostly because we are not the ones who choose the ingredients that effectively create those online identities. I know that saying this might sound a bit counterintuitive, right? Because after all, we are the people who use those devices, who feed data into those systems. So let me really explain what I mean by saying that we don't have choice. The thing is that our online identity is a layered concept. It has layers. The first one really starts with what we reveal, what we feed into social media, into applications we use, like our profile information or our public posts. Yes, we have control over this first layer of our identity. And probably there are things that we are not so eager to reveal in that way with our own hands, like our location, the real-time location, or our intimate relationships, or maybe our patterns of going offline and online. If you are not likely to reveal it with your own hands, you might be surprised to discover that there is a second layer of your identity created by your behavioral data, things like search terms, or other types of behavioral data, or the digital fingerprint of your device that will reveal those things as well. And the spies say that metadata don't lie. So it's far more difficult for us as average users to control this kind of information that betrays our behavioral patterns, our location, our timestamp. If you are concerned about control, if you like control the way I like it, you will be even more surprised to discover that there is a third layer. Third layer that is mostly composed of interpretations. Not so much our data, but the way this data is interpreted by various algorithms, by data scientists, by companies that work hard in order to discover things that we are not likely to reveal ourselves. So things like our weaknesses, our family situation, maybe our illnesses, our habits, or the current status of our relationship, whether we are about to break up, separate, or engage into something new. Little things like our gaming obsessions, and serious things like our business travels and business plans. All those things are extremely valuable if you think about advertising. This is the kind of information that advertisers pay for. You might say, OK, I accept the way advertising industry works. I understand this. And still, you might not be able to recognize yourselves into the data that is generated on you. You might not really like the image of yourself that comes from this data. What would be? How would you feel if you discovered that your data double, the simulation that was created about you, is actually sick, or depressed, or emotionally unstable, or not creditworthy, or not cool enough to enter somewhere, or different, odd, weird for whatever other purpose? How would you feel? If you disagree with this picture, if you don't like it, well, that's your problem, because nobody else in this ecosystem will really care. Those people, those institutions who may make judgments on us on the basis of our data doubles, our data profiles, our online identities, especially the third layer, they don't really care about the inner truth about us. They care about the overall picture, and that picture stays more or less correct because it's based on statistics, even if they make mistakes regarding our lives, even if they deny us employment, credit, or crossing the border without a reason. That remains our problem, because the system carries on. I don't think this is the right situation. I don't think this is fair. What I would prefer is to be able to control all layers of my online identity. Not only the first one, the one that I do control because this is the data I feed into the system, but the third, the second, and the third as well. Well, in Europe, we are quite lucky because our regulator has shared this belief, and since May last year, we do have law that regulates this, addresses exactly this problem of lack of transparency, lack of control. My organization has been fighting actively for this regulation, so we are happy about the results. We are happy that on paper, we do have the right to check the ingredients of those profiles. We do have the right to question some of those ingredients, to delete them, even to say that the whole third layer is non-legitimate because we don't want to be profiled for marketing purposes. On paper, it looks great. In practice, as you might guess, it is complicated. The facts are that we still need companies to understand why those things matter to people, to all of us, and have them cooperate with us. What I think we need new companies coming to compete with old ones, with old-style tech giants, understanding that by revealing the data picture they have on us in their databases, by having open conversation about this with us, they can gain insights and trust that will get them much further than the whole advertising business based on tracking and not so intelligent guessing got. I do believe that this conversation is possible, and I do hope that we can have it here. That's why I'm here, and I invite you to talk. Thank you.